Joining. I know we have people coming into the room right now, but we're really excited for y'all to be here today for Students Take Albany 2021, Young Invincibles Annual Day of Action and Student-Led Advocacy here in New York. And so again, as folks are coming into the room, we're really excited and grateful for our student leaders who are taking the time out of school, work, this quarantine life to all come together and fight for what students across New York need now more than ever. And today, over the course of the day today, we're going to have more than 70 college students coming together from across the state to fight for tuition-free college, campus mental health, more financial aid, and a promise from our leaders that the next generation of New Yorkers will be centered in our state's recovery from COVID-19. Because there's no equitable recovery from this pandemic without dramatically changing how we support the million-plus college students in New York. Students that have increasingly been dealing with things like hunger and homelessness, mental health challenges, and profound economic insecurity, both before this crisis and especially now. And again, as all these students are going to be coming together today, meeting with elected officials, talking about what they need, we really can change how this state uplifts Black, Brown, and immigrant students. But we know that it's going to take a student-led movement to get there. And so that's why, again, we really are so grateful for your time today. And thank you again for making time to push for this change. So this morning at this rally, we're going to hear from some amazing speakers about why this moment is so critical for young New Yorkers. But before we hear from our first speakers, just a couple of ground rules here. So if you're not speaking, please remember to keep yourself on mute. However, since this is a rally, we're going to try this out. Let's see how it works. But one thing we're going to try is that between the speakers, if you want to unmute and clap, stomp, snap, whatever it is to sort of make some noise and get people excited, you're welcome to do so. Again, we haven't tried this in the Zoom life before, so if it's a total audio disaster, my apologies, but I would love to just hear some of the energy in the room, so we're going to give it a try. Again, if you can, please turn on your camera so we can see who is out there and leading the fight today. It's always great to see faces. And last, for our speakers, please keep in mind that this is a 30-minute rally. So if you can keep your comments to around 3 minutes, we'd be grateful for that. Of course, we love to hear from all of you, but time is real today. So again, appreciate your time today. And so I see some folks are already introducing themselves in the chat. That is great. Please keep it going. We'd love to hear where folks are calling in from. And again, thank you for making the time today to join us. And again, all these folks who are going to be meeting with elected officials throughout the day today. With that, I would like to hand things over to our first speaker, and that's Senator Andrew Gennardis. So Senator Gennardis is a CUNY graduate himself, a professor from Hunter College himself, the son of CUNY graduates, and today he is the Senate sponsor of the New Deal for CUNY, as well as other critical legislation to make sure that college students across New York get the support that they need. And so we're so grateful for his leadership in the Senate and really grateful for his time this morning. And so Senator Gennardis, over to you for your remarks today.
Great. Thank you so much, Melanie. You took away all my talking points. You said everything I was going to say. So maybe my remarks today are going to be even briefer than you had hoped for. Good morning, everyone. It's Andrew Gennardis from Southern Brooklyn, coming at you out of my office in Bay Ridge. Great to be with you all today. I'm really excited about today's Advocacy Day and today's rally because we are now entering the final throes of our push to make sure that this state budget this year, which is a reflection of our statewide priorities and values, centers students first. Students in our higher education settings are going to be at the fore of our economic recovery, not just from this pandemic, but for the next generation lying ahead of us. And so we have to set the stage right when we have this opportunity to make sure that we are investing in the human capacity and human capital of our student generation. And so I'm really excited about today. If you follow state government or politics at all, you saw that yesterday the Senate passed its one House budget resolution, which included lots of increased funding over the governor's proposals for higher education. Really excited that we're proposing to allocate money for mental health councils on our campuses, money for students with disabilities, money to close the TAP gap and increase the TAP awards to make sure that we are getting us towards a place where we can have public universities be tuition free. I sponsor a number of the bills in the package that you're talking about today, the New Deal for CUNY, the mental health ratio bills, helping to complete FAFSA applications, extending the time limits for TAP awards from 4 years to 6 years, because we know that so many of our students today need a little bit more time in order to graduate, and we shouldn't put undue pressure or stress on them and make their aid contingent upon that. So lots of great stuff. The work that we do is inspired by you. So really the point of today is for you to keep pushing us and pushing us and pushing us and make sure that we keep fighting and fighting and fighting. If you don't see your elected official on the rally today, or if you don't have a meeting with them today, that does not mean that you should not reach out to them, call their office, tweet at them, Facebook them, show up at the office, whatever it takes. Make sure your state legislators know exactly how important this funding and these bills are to you and to your fellow students, and make sure they know that you live in their district, that you care about these issues, and that you vote based on these issues. Have a great day today. Good luck out there, and I can't wait to see us on the other side of this fight. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Senator Gennardis. And now again, if you can, unmute. Let's make some noise. Hey. Thank you all. Awesome. Thank you, Senator. It's wonderful to hear from you. And again, thanks for joining us today. So coming up next, we're going to hear from another fearless CUNY, both CUNY graduate and advocate for the CUNY system. So we're going to hear from Assemblymember Farsu Front Forrest. Assemblymember Forrest is a two-time CUNY graduate from City Tech, the School of Professional Studies. She's also a union nurse, a tenant organizer, was elected to the Assembly in November 2020, where she has continued to lead on issues that are impacting students, not only in her district in Brooklyn, but across New York. So over to you, Assemblymember, for your remarks this morning.
Hello, good morning. Good morning to everyone on this call. All right. First of all, let's start off with a good mantra. Fight, fight, fight. Education is my human right. Fight, fight, fight. Education is my human right. And I want to first start off the rally with saying that it is your right to demand better for yourself. It is your right to be the strongest advocate for yourself. This year, if you have learned from anything from 2020, is that you should march into 2021 demanding that not only that people understand that education is your right, but also the fact that we as New Yorkers deserve better. So when you stand up and you advocate for yourself, you're not saying that I'm selfish. You're saying that it is about time that New York State does better for the people that support it every day, day in, day out, by working hard, by investing in themselves, and by producing the best that we can, because we know that New York puts out the best. Am I not correct? And so that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here today to say that it isn't about what I can do for CUNY, but what CUNY can do for me, what CUNY has done for me, has done for my family. And for people to understand that when I say I am a CUNY advocate, I'm an advocate for a people's institution. When I say I graduated 2 times, that means it took me 2 times to get it right. It took me 2 times to get it together, to get it to the point where I can stand in front of you and say, as a state assembly woman, I'm fighting for you. So if that's the way it was for me, then I can only imagine what it is for other people. And that's why I am fighting to give people that chance. One of the things that I want to say is, when I was in high school, when I had gotten a scholarship from a law firm, and all the law partners were sitting around and they was talking about, oh, I went to CUNY, because at the time I was going to SUNY. So actually it took me 3 times to get it right. But I was going to SUNY, and they were like, oh, well, I went to CUNY, and when I went, it was for free. And I'm seeing these people sitting up in Times Square, building number 7, all fancy. And I said, well, What about me? I'm not going to go for I'm not going to CUNY for free because you handing out to me. Well, I'm not looking for handouts now. And I know you're not looking for handouts. You're looking for your just desserts. All right. This is the richest state. We have one of the best public institution, the best in public institution in the United States. And it's about time our governor, our speaker, our majority leader puts in the effort, puts in the time, put their mouth where their money is, and put CUNY first and put our students first. I love you all. Let's keep fighting. Fight, fight, fight. Education is my human right. And I appreciate you all.
Yes. All right. Again, let's try this again. Unmute and let's give a round of applause here for Assembly Member Forrest. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad we're recording this because I'm going to be watching that just to like pump myself up over the next coming weeks. But again, thank you, thank you, thank you for your time here this morning. So moving us right along to our next speaker. So we did have an invite for Council Member Inez Barron, who is the chair of the New York City Council's Committee on Higher Education. She's a tireless fighter for CUNY and college students across the 5 boroughs. So just wanted to check in. I know that she has a hearing that's running over. So if her staff wants to go ahead and speak, feel free, but just wanted to check in there.
Yes, first let me say thank you very much, Farah. Very inspired by your energy. You know, always energy is such an important point. Just became chief of staff for Councilmember Barron, but I think students who have some sense of history know that Assemblyman Charles Barron, who was also chair of higher education at the council, and Mrs. Barron, who's the current chair of higher education, have always been strong advocates for every single thing that you're saying in this rally. What I might bring to it is 2 things. One, it was in 1987 when I created the slogan, "No justice, no peace," and whose streets, our streets. It came out of the streets of Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, fighting against the scourge of crack cocaine in our neighborhoods. And those slogans don't really mean anything until they come from the people and they come back to the people. So now you see that slogan respected, whose schools, our schools. And so I say to the students, study history. You know, it never repeats itself the same, but there are important lessons from that. Look at the past student movements and remember what I think Farah said. There's plenty of money. Don't ever think there's not money. The issue is politics. It's not a question of lack of resources. And if you don't demand those resources, as she said, if you don't understand the connection between civil rights and human rights, it is a human right education and it should be free. It should invest in human capital, not just finance capital. It should invest in human capital. And as a Black man, I know that because our people were considered capital themselves in terms of their history. And so I would just say to folks, stay strong, study history. Look back at the student movements in the past. You'll learn something from them. The battles at San Francisco State, the actual battles that took place at Columbia University, the battles that took place all across. I remember participating in so many sit-ins and CUNY colleges, from Queens College to City College. There were real movements that you're all a part of now. Fortunately, actually, my wife just retired. She was head of SEEK and student government at City Tech. And through that process, I watched a number of the student leaders for the city in CUNY actually came out of City Tech. Hercules came out of there. And so there's a history there that study it and learn from it. The most important thing is you can learn anything. The real deal is the spirit and the politics you bring to it. So that's all I will say. I certainly can't speak for Councilmember Barron, but I think her practice, her legislation, and her energy and commitment speaks for itself. Thanks very much.
Amazing. Thank you again. Again, y'all know the deal. If you want to unmute, make some noise, feel free to do so in this virtual rally time. But again, thank you so much. And thank you again for the council members' continued commitment. We know that she's a fearless champion and so grateful for your time and hers as well. So coming up next, we're going to hear from some of our student leaders. So up first, we have Amber Rivero. Amber is Vice Chair of Senior College Affairs for the University Student Senate at CUNY, the CUNY Student Government, and a John Jay College herself, John Jay College student. So Amber, over to you.
Hi, good morning, everyone, and thank you, Young Invincibles, for putting together this Students Takes Albany rally and lobbying effort today. I just wanted to say, well, first of all, my pronouns are she, her, and hers. I want to make sure that everyone's acknowledging each other's pronouns and being inclusive in this space throughout the day. And, you know, it's an honor to be here representing University Student Senate as Vice Chair of Senior Colleges. I'm actually an alumni from Medgar Evers and now John Jay student, as well as John Jay Student Government President. And one of the most powerful things I have ever experienced as a student and student leader within CUNY is lobbying elected officials and rallying for higher education funding, policy, and different programs that we're advocating for our students. And most of us have experienced the things that we're advocating for on behalf of our colleagues and our peers. I wanted to say that, you know, 250,000 people that go to CUNY, you know, are possibly a good portion of those New York City constituents. And so while we're here in the city, while we're here in the state, there's absolutely no reason at all why we shouldn't be able to look up our electeds at the local, state, you know, federal level and just ask them for what it is we need. If they heard from us more often in their districts around CUNY issues, we would see it when the budget rolls out, similar to what Senator Gennard shared with us. What an amazing win this year during a pandemic, during these economic hardships, during a mental health crisis for the students with this budget. But we can continue to push, continue to get more funding, continue to get more awareness if we rally and organize together, very similar to the gentleman from Councilwoman Inez Barron's office just said. I was going to share the same sentiments. Let's look back at history across student movements and beyond the student movements that have happened nationally. Let's look at what's happened within CUNY. CUNY was able to get open admissions for Black and Brown students when we rallied together, mobilized, and showed everyone that we were about business. For the last 2 years, students and people across New York City, activists, advocates have seen that we can organize and collectively demand for social justice movements, for racially inclusive and culturally affirming spaces, and to be heard as Black, Brown, marginalized, and minoritized individuals. If we put that same advocacy and that same effort into fighting for higher education, like higher education is a basic human right, similar to what Assemblywoman Forrest said, then I know that we will continue to push to get everything that we need for the students. And before I close, I want to say that the mental health crisis is, you know, exacerbated right now amongst our students in CUNY. All students are suffering. It's very difficult to be a student. So putting that extra funding towards mental health centers and mental health, you know, counselors and wellness centers being expanded is amazing, but we need to see this happen every year and not just in the middle of a crisis. And taking care of our students' food insecurity and housing insecurity is extremely important. And it is the job of our electeds to take care of us as their constituents and their district members. Why? Because how can we focus on our education and become successful contributing members of the same exact economy and society if we can't get past the hurdles that we've been handed just through classism and all the other isms that exist? So I'm so excited that this is happening today. I encourage each of you to be bold, to reach out to your elected. And like Senator Gennard said, if you don't see your elected here today, go tweet them, email them, show up to their office, knock on their door in Albany when it's back in person, but demand your rights and demand more funding. Thank you and good luck.
Yes, can we get another round of applause here for Amber? Yes, thank you so much, Amber. So grateful that you could join us this morning, and I'm always moved by what you bring to the table. So again, thank you for your leadership and joining today. So coming up next, we're going to hear from Diana Valenzuela. So Diana is a Bronx Community College student and a student advocate with Young Invincibles. So grateful that she's part of the YI family here. So Diana, if you want to go ahead and unmute, we'd love to hear from you this morning.
Thank you, Melanie. Good morning, everyone. My name is Diana Valenzuela. My pronouns are also she, her, hers, and thank you for having me here today. So a lot of what I was going to mention kind of echoes what Amber just went over, and it's that a large majority of CUNY students tend to balance work and school. Meanwhile, like during the pandemic, they're grappling with issues like loss of income and maybe the loss of a loved one or their own health concerns. I know I, for one, lost my main source of income during the pandemic, and I've had many family members that were infected by the virus. And all of that has added to the struggles that I had already, and it set me back from being able to transfer. So legislation such as the New Deal for CUNY is imperative for everyone in the room here and everyone that hasn't been able to advocate for themselves. We need to make sure that we fund programs that make higher education accessible for students so that they can, as Amber said, also become part of the society that we're trying to create. And I would say that anything that you can do, whether it's just joining us or doing stuff in your own community, whether it's volunteering or making donations, everything counts. And before the pandemic already, we had CUNY students facing homelessness and food insecurity. So with the current conditions that all New Yorkers are going through, it's very important that we address this crisis before it gets any worse. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you so much. Again, let's get keep the claps, the snaps going. And thank you, Diana, +1 everything you said, and we really appreciate you joining this morning. So just to keep things moving, we're going to hear next from another member of the YI family, Eileen Luna. So Eileen is a John Jay College student, another advocate with Young Invincibles, also a campus leader there. So again, John Jay's really representing strong this morning, but over to you, Eileen, to keep it going.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. Good morning. My name is Eileen, and I'm a senior at John Jay, and also their executive secretary of their student government. I'm really excited to see how many of you are present today, and I think it's just really admirable that you're also showing up and advocating for students during such rough times. I wanted to start off a little bit by talking about the importance of funding programs like TAP, CUNY ASAP, and what programs like that have done for me. When I was applying to college, actually, I had my heart set on NYU. It was my dream school, and I was so ecstatic when I got the acceptance letter in the mail. But unfortunately, because of my dad's immigration status and other factors, I was actually considered ineligible for a financial aid reward from the school. And I therefore wasn't able to attend because I just couldn't afford that high of a tuition. However, I was grateful to have been accepted to John Jay, and attending John Jay is probably one of the best decisions I've made. I think, well, I will actually be graduating from May completely debt-free. And not only this, but I was also able to benefit from a dual enrollment program that my high school had in collaboration with Brooklyn College, where I was able to take college classes for free as a high school student and have those credits transfer over, allowing me to start as a sophomore instead of a freshman in college. So without TAP, I quite literally would not have been able to attend college, but with the support of these programs, this May I will actually become the first person in my family to graduate from college. And as a Latina, more specifically the daughter of Mexican immigrant parents, TAP made this possible for me. And I know that there are so many other students of color who are in the same position as I am that can benefit from a program like this one. There's really no need to gatekeep students of color from reaching higher education institutions. Advocating for more funding, more accessibility, and a bigger timeline for these programs is one of the many first steps that we can take to make sure that these opportunities aren't kept from us. So thank you all so much for listening to me today. Thank you for all your advocacy, and I wish you all good luck and a good rest of your day.
All right, y'all know the deal now. Unmute, show us the claps. Thank you, Eileen, and congratulations. That's huge. And shout out to another first gen graduating. Love to see it. I saw some folks in the chat who are part of the first gen fam too. So again, congrats and thanks for being here. Again, keeping things moving, we're going to hear next from Brad Hirschensen, who is the president of the SUNY Student Assembly, representing SUNY's 64 campuses, a SUNY student himself in a doctoral program right now. He's leading advocacy with the rest of the SUNY student government right now. And over to you, Brad.
All right, thank you, Melanie. Hey, everybody, my name is Brad Hirschensen. My pronouns are he, him, and his. And I'm the president of the SUNY Student Assembly, which is the system-wide student government representing the 64 campuses of SUNY. I also have the privilege of serving as a member of the SUNY Board of Trustees. And first, I just got to say, wow. I mean, you guys are bringing the energy on Zoom. just taking a look at all the people I have on my screen, all these Hollywood squares, I know we're going to get what we need this legislative session. We've got some real rock stars on the line, our SUNY students, our CUNY students. I see Gabby Lerner in here somewhere. I saw Kevin at some point, Amber, and all the rest of the students. Our CUNY students, we've got a new deal on the way. Even though I'm a SUNY student, I went to Baruch for college now. And of course, I support the New Deal for CUNY. So I'm a CUNY and a SUNY student at heart. Our friends at Young Invincibles. Can we give Melanie some love in the chat right now quickly? And so many others on the line. We have our legislative champions, Assemblywoman Farrah Forrest of Kings County, a SUNY Geneseo graduate and a City Tech graduate, public higher education twofer, Senator Andrew Gennardis, Hunter College, and a true champion for students in New York, in Brooklyn, in Albany, across the state. Of course, Councilwoman Barron, a true champion for students. It's really great to stand alongside our legislative folks in Albany, our champions in the city, our students, even some faculty and staff that I know might be on the line. And we have to act now to invest in public higher education. It is time for the students to take Albany. The governor's executive budget proposes tuition increases in the middle of a pandemic. And what did our legislative leaders do? They pressed reject, a big X on that. And we thank them for their leadership on that. We've got millions and millions and millions of dollars headed to New York, and we have to support our campuses, our students, and our colleagues. The programs and services that help our students graduate on time and successfully are vital. And that includes our opportunity programs, our food insecurity programs, our childcare programs, disability services, gender and sexuality resources, everything needed to open more doors for students. We're in the middle of a pandemic and we need this investment. The pandemic has created harder circumstances for our students and our colleagues to study across public higher education. And today is about taking Albany and protecting and enhancing that investment that is our public higher education. And I use the word investment for a specific reason, because the investment made specifically into SUNY returns $8.17 back to the state of New York for every $1 invested into our system. So imagine if we did that with $100 million, we'd bring back $817 million. And it is so important we protect that investment in the state budget process. We've got about 2 weeks left until the budget is adopted. We have to fight, make our voices heard. And remember, us SUNY graduates and us CUNY graduates and us students, we are essential to the health and well-being of New York State, its economy, its workforce, its intellectual and social fabric. So when you meet with your representatives, whether that's today, tomorrow, when you tag them on Twitter, when you wear your SUNY pins, your CUNY pins, remind them of one thing: invest in public higher education, because an investment in public higher education is an investment in the students and an investment in New York City and an investment in New York State. So thank you all so much for having me, and God bless.
Thank you, Brad. Again, y'all know the deal. Unmute, give that round of applause, hit the table, whatever you got to do. But thank you, Brad. We're so glad that you were able to join this morning and appreciate your leadership. And hey, I love, SUNY, CUNY, all college students coming together. We know that education is a right, and we're going to fight for that today. So again, thank you so much for joining. So moving us along, we're going to hear next from Esperanza Rosenbaum, who is an amazing organizer with the New York Public Interest Research Group, where she leads a lot of the work on fighting for more higher education funding. So Esperanza, over to you.
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Esperanza and I'm here representing NYPIRG today. As Melanie said, I work on higher education, but I also am a project coordinator for College of Staten Island students. So I'm very familiar with the struggle of college students in New York, particularly in CUNY, as I graduated from CCNY at the end of 2019. And I just want to emphasize that my classmates were incredibly hardworking and determined people. Most of them had jobs, many of which we would now classify as essential. Many of them had children of their own and were looking to get a degree to improve their futures and the futures of their children. And most of my classmates were immigrants or the children of immigrants, and they were dealing with all of the pressures that come along with that as well. So these struggles did not just go away when the pandemic hit. And in fact, I would say that those who were struggling then have had their lives made even more complicated. Students' mental health is declining, and as they're dealing with juggling home life, school, work, and potentially grief and trauma from COVID-19. While students are struggling, our schools are not adequately equipped to help. There aren't enough counselors, there are not enough advisors. There's honestly not even enough professors at this point. But with all of us being separated and studying from home, these issues are made invisible by those who do not wish to see them. So for this reason, it's really important that we make our stories and the stories of our classmates who can't be here, who are struggling, and we need to make them known to politicians who don't see them. So we must make it easier to get a degree during this period of hardship, rather than making it more difficult by cutting funding from our opportunity programs and increasing tuition. I'm so grateful to be here with all of you students today, and I'm so happy to see us carrying the fight on. Thank you, Melanie, and thank you everybody for having me.
Thank you, Esperanza. Again, another round of applause for another amazing speaker we have. Thank you for joining us this morning. And I am so excited to move things over. Oh, I hear someone unmuted. If you wouldn't mind just making sure you're muted while we're speaking. Thank you. And finally, last but certainly not least, we're going to close things out this morning with Darlene Sorial, who is a City College student and a policy assistant with Degrees NYC. I've had the great pleasure of working with Darlene for a few years now, and she is a fearless advocate herself, and I'm super excited to hear from her this morning. So Darlene, if you wouldn't mind closing us out.
Yeah, thank you, Melanie and Marsha. Thank you, Y. Thank you. Thank you, YI, for the opportunity to be here today. My name is Darlene Suriel. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a junior at the City College of New York and a policy assistant at Degrees NYC, a collective initiative focused on achieving education equity in New York City. Like many CUNY students, I found myself disoriented when classes switched to remote learning. I struggled with finding an environment that was conducive to my learning. I became a caretaker and a tutor for my siblings, in addition to already being a full-time student, and my family struggled with affording internet service during COVID. These circumstances had a negative impact on my mental health, as well as my academics. Digital access and mental health have been two of the biggest issues amplified during COVID. Elected officials are finally realizing that access to resources such as free broadband services or updated devices and mental health support are not luxuries, but a necessity for students. But why did it take a once-in-a-century pandemic for that to happen? The digital gap in New York has been growing since the early 2000s, and by 2020, almost 1 million households did not have access to broadband services or devices, a statistic that disproportionately affects underserved communities of color. After COVID shut down all our schools, CUNY and SUNY diligently tried to close that gap by distributing devices to their students. But all they did was treat the symptoms without really trying to cure the disease. Students are still struggling to afford stable internet, while broadband companies make millions off of their struggle. Some of the devices that students are receiving are not even compatible with the software that they may need for school. If I'm a computer science major that needs to write code and programming, how am I supposed to do that on a Chromebook? We need to make sure that our elected officials continue to fund CUNY and make sure every CUNY student has access to hotspots with reliable internet service, as well as up-to-date devices for students to complete their work at home, even after COVID is over. CUNY students also need access to free long-term mental health services. The mental health crisis is just as big of a threat to our public health as COVID. 1 in 5 CUNY students suffers from depression, and 40% reported symptoms of anxiety. But the truth is that our students are more than statistics. They're human beings. They are suffering from the losses that they are experiencing, whether it's the loss of family members, loss of employment, or loss of normalcy. When our colleges put a limit to the number of counseling sessions a student has access to, or refers them to outpatient services that make them wait months before they can get the support they need, what it says to us is that they don't care about our well-being. Some students may not be able to wait months to see a therapist. It may be too late for them by then. Elected officials need to fund CUNY now. Fund CUNY now so that students can have access to the digital resources they need, regardless of their socioeconomic status. Fund CUNY now so that more counselors can be hired to help students cope with the aftermath of COVID. Fund CUNY now so that students can have access to more paid internships that are directly connected to their career paths. To invest in CUNY students is to invest in the future of New York City. We are the future of this city's workforce. We are the future of this city's economy, and we are the future of this city.
Yes, thank you, Darlene. The chat was lighting up as we heard you. So thank you for joining us and for speaking some truth this morning. And thank you to all of our rally speakers. I'm feeling really fired up and excited for today, and I hope you are all too. I'm seeing some nods, I'm seeing some applauses, I'm seeing some energy in the chat, and that is great to see. So again, thank you to all of our rally speakers for joining. So we're going to keep things moving right along. So if you are joining us for the morning shift, so if you're going to start and be a part of these meetings this morning, we ask that you to stay on. We're going to move right along into a training for the day. If you are not, if you're going to be joining us later in the afternoon, or if you're done for the rally, again, thank you for your time. You are welcome to hop off now, and we'll go ahead and get started with our training for the afternoon shift. Again, for doing some of this advocacy that, you know, our speakers really reminded us, it's just how important it is to do. And so, Marisa, if you could pull up the slide deck for the training, I'll start and move along into that. But hey, folks, again, thank you for being here today. I know a lot is going on, but the work that you are doing today really, really, really matters. And so you're going to have some time to meet up with your group to prep before your morning meetings. But we just wanted to make sure that we could go through and just get everyone on the same page about what today is going to look like. So we're going to talk a little bit about what meeting with lawmakers is going to look like. So Marisa, if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide.